Welcome to the deep dive. Ever look at some people and just wonder, how are they so disciplined? Or maybe you find yourself totally sidetracked by every single notification. If that sounds like you, well, this deep dive is definitely for you. We're going to be drilling down into, well, the really fascinating crossroads of neuroscience, pure grit, and some, honestly, pretty simple daily health habits.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Our mission really is to cut through all the noise out there and give you some solid, actionable knowledge. We want to show you, like straight from the research, how you can consciously build up your willpower and maintain that deep focus, which is so hard nowadays, right? And ultimately boost your brain's longevity. We're basically connecting the dots between your brain's wiring and your daily habits.
Exactly. And it's so important because we're moving beyond just talking about grit, the philosophy of it, and actually looking at the physical wiring.
Right.
We'll explore the specific brain structure that handles follow-through, handles discomfort, and then lay out some, science-backed ways you can actually boost its function. It's about engineering resilience.
Not just hoping for it.
Precisely. Not just wishing you were tougher.
Okay, love that. Engineering resilience. So let's unpack that. If we want to build this grit, where's the engine room? Like, what specific part of the brain are we talking about for willpower, for tenacity, for pushing through discomfort?
Okay, so the star player here is the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, the AMCC for short.
AMCC, got it.
You can kind of think of it as the brain's ultimate negotiation center. It's tucked away deep in the cortex, and its job is, well, surprisingly direct. It mediates.
Mediates between what?
Between that urge for immediate comfort, the I quit signal, and the intentional effort you need for the long-term win. Every single time you push past wanting to take the easy route, that's your AMCC firing up.
A negotiation center. I like that. It makes sense. But hang on, how is that different from, say, the prefrontal cortex?
Yeah.
We always hear that's for executive decisions, planning, and all that.
That's a really good question. And the distinction, it's critical. So yes, the prefrontal cortex does the high-level planning, the strategizing, but the AMCC, it's specifically involved in the effortful doing of those plans.
Ah, the execution part.
Exactly, especially when it's boring or uncomfortable or just plain hard. Think about planning a marathon versus actually forcing yourself to take that 10,000th step when everything in you is screaming stop.
Okay, yeah.
The AMCC is the bit that grits its teeth and says, nope, keep going.
Wow. And the most fascinating part you mentioned earlier, it's trainable.
Yes. That's the kicker. It's absolutely trainable. This isn't some fixed piece of hardware you're stuck with. Research clearly shows that the neural density, the connections in the AMCC, they actually increase when you consistently make it work hard.
So you can literally build a stronger, persistent circuit.
You literally can. You can thicken that area, make it more robust.
Okay, that's the game changer right there.
Yeah.
So if we know we can treat this AMCC like a muscle we want to strengthen, then the obvious next question is, how? What's the workout plan? What does the research say is the best way to give the AMCC that resistance training it needs?
Right. Well, the training method that comes up in the material is pretty straightforward, maybe a bit uncomfortable.
I'm bracing myself.
It basically advocates for intentionally taking on tasks that you find difficult, things you don't enjoy, things that require, immediate effort that you'd rather avoid.
Great.
And the sources have this slightly humorous but very direct term for them, microsucks or macro sucks.
Like micro sucks and macro sucks. I actually love that. It's so blunt and memorable.
It is, isn't it?
But define those for us, because my first thought is, wait, aren't we just adding more stress? Life's already stressful. How does this research tell apart, like, constructive hardship from just burning yourself out?
That's a crucial point, absolutely. The difference really lies in the intention and the scale. This isn't about random, overwhelming stress. It's voluntary. It's controlled.
Okay.
So a microsuck, that's a small, maybe 5-minute intentional dose of discomfort. It could be, like you said, tackling that one dreaded email first thing.
Right, get it over with.
Exactly. Or maybe choosing to stand while you work for 15 minutes. Or really pushing through the last reps of a tough set at the gym when you want to quit. Small, conquerable wins, they register quickly in the AMCC.
Okay, small, intentional, conquerable. And macro sucks.
Macro sucks are the bigger commitments, longer, more sustained voluntary challenges, actually training for that marathon we talked about.
Right.
Or maybe learning a complex new skill that has nothing to pseudo with work, something that requires real effort. or finishing that huge friction-filled project you've been avoiding for months.
So the idea isn't to drown yourself in difficulty. It's more like targeted injections of effort. You're systematically teaching your brain, hey, discomfort isn't fatal. And pushing through, even when it feels miserable, is something we actually can do.
Precisely. You nailed it. By leaning into these controlled sucks, you're directly optimizing that neural circuitry for tenacity. And the micro approach, it's brilliant because the barrier to entry is so low.
Yeah, anyone can find 5 minutes a suck.
Right. And every time you tackle one tiny, unpleasant thing, bam, small victory, neural pathways strengthened. And over time, those micro successes, they compound, they build into macro level resilience. You're building cognitive endurance bit by tiny bit.
That makes so much sense for the specific brain training part. But okay, we know the brain isn't just floating in a vacuum, right?
Absolutely not.
If the AMCC is this high-performance engine we're tuning up, we need to make sure the rest of the vehicle, the body, is providing the right fuel and maintenance. So let's shift gears a bit. Foundational physical stuff. What supports overall brain function and, keeps things running well long-term?
Yeah, great transition because the research is crystal clear on this. Trying to train your AMCC while ignoring your basic biology, it's just inefficient. It won't work nearly as well.
So what's pillar number 1?
Exercise. No surprise there, maybe. But the sources are really specific. You need both resistance training and cardiovascular training. They're both seen as mandatory for top-tier brain health.
Okay, cardio, I think most people get the brain connection, better blood flow, oxygen, all that. But resistance training, why the specific emphasis on lifting weights or body weight exercises for cognitive stuff, for longevity?
Yeah, resistance training often gets overlooked in brain health chats, but its impact is, well, huge. When you do resistance work, your body releases a cascade of hormones and, crucially, neurotrophic factors.
Neurotrophic factors.
Like BDNF.
Exactly like brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. That's the most famous one. Think of BDNF as like miracle grow for your brain cells.
Oh, it helps keep your existing neurons healthy and actually promotes neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells. So if you want a sharper, more resilient AMCC and just a better functioning brain overall, you need good levels of BDNF. And resistance training, it's a fantastic trigger for releasing it.
Wow. Okay. So you can't just do one. You need the combo. Cardio for the plumbing, the blood flow, the oxygen.
Immediate benefits.
And resistance training for the actual building materials and maintenance crew through BDNF, making the whole system, AMCC included, run better.
You've got it. That dual approach is key for supporting the entire cognitive machine.
That connection, resistance work, BDNF, better brain structure, that's the kind of specific insight people can really use. Okay, building on that system support, let's talk about something even more basic, maybe overlooked because it's so basic. Breathing.
Yes.
The research highlights a really simple technique here, doesn't it?
It does, and the focus is overwhelmingly on nasal breathing, just breathing through your nose.
It sounds almost too simple.
I know, right? But the physiological kickbacks are immediate and pretty profound. Breathing through your nose, first off, filters the air better, obvious maybe, but critically, it boosts nitric oxide production right there in your sinuses.
Nitric oxide. That rings a bell. Isn't that involved with blood vessels?
Exactly. It's a potent vasodilator, meaning it helps your blood vessels expand. And the result, better oxygen flow everywhere, including, importantly, the brain.
Better oxygen delivery just from breathing through your nose.
Okay.
But I feel like there was more to it. Yeah. Something about the nervous system.
Absolutely. Nasal breathing typically encourages or even forces slower, deeper breaths using your diaphragm. And that physical action directly stimulates the vagus nerve.
Ah, the vagus nerve, the relaxation pathway.
That's the one. It's the superhighway for your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. Stimulating it helps dial down systemic inflammation, reduces stress.
Which frees up brain power, right?
Precisely. It frees up huge amounts of cognitive resources. Instead of your brain managing a low-level stress response, those resources can go towards that focused AMCC work. So the simple act of how you breathe connects directly to your ability to stay calm and focused.
Mind blown. Okay, so this work gets, as I said, really interesting because we've talked about building the engine, AMCC, fueling it, exercise, breathing. Now we need to talk about the roadblocks. The stuff in our modern world that's actively messing this whole system up.
Yeah, the saboteurs.
Yeah.
And according to pretty much all the current research, enemy number one for deep focus is our tech environment, specifically the culture of constant context switching it breeds.
Oh, yeah. The endless flipping between emails, Slack, browser tabs, phone notifications.
Exactly. We're constantly shifting gears mentally back and forth, back and forth.
Hang on. My job, and I bet most people listening, our jobs kind of demand a certain amount of that switching.
Yeah.
Are the sources saying we need to become like digital hermits? Or are there ways to manage the brain drain from all this shifting?
Good point. Radical avoidance usually isn't practical, is it?
Not really, no.
What the research really stresses is understanding the cost. Every time you switch tasks, it's not just the few seconds of the switch itself. You leave behind what they call attention residue.
Attention residue, I like that term.
Yeah, it's like a cognitive hangover from the last task that drags down your performance on the next one. And the AMCC, which, remember, thrives on sustained, focused effort. It gets weakened by habitual switching. We're basically training our brains for frantic short bursts, not deep engagement.
So what's a management technique then?
The big one is batching tasks, or time boxing. You carve out specific, intentional blocks of time for deep work, and during that block, notifications are off, ruthlessly eliminated. You force the AMCC to stay engaged on one thing for an extended period.
Intentional single-tasking blocks. Makes sense.
On top of that environmental stress from tech, there are specific substance risks mentioned, things that directly chip away at the brain integrity we're trying to build. The research is pretty blunt about the significant specific risks of regular alcohol consumption and vaping.
Okay, and we're not just talking general, it's unhealthy warnings here. What specific parts of the brain or pathways are most affected by booze and vaping that someone focused on resilience on their AMCC should really worry about?
Right. Both hit hard on areas crucial for the functions we're discussing. They pose direct threats to the prefrontal cortex, which, remember, works hand in glove with the AMCC for executive function, and also the hippocampus.
Hippocampus. Memory.
And also crucial for neurogenesis, that brain cell growth we talked about with BDNF. Alcohol is, well, it's a neurotoxin. Long-term, it can actually shrink brain volume. And chronic nicotine exposure, especially the high doses you can get from vaping, messes with your neurotransmitter systems. It can make the brain more prone to anxiety, core impulse control.
So basically, you're trying to strengthen willpower and focus with one hand.
While pouring chemical disruptors on the system with the other. Yeah. It's fundamentally counterproductive if long-term cognitive resilience is your goal.
That definitely puts those habits in a different light when you frame it through the lens of brain health and performance. Okay, so we've identified the threats, constant switching, alcohol, vaping. Is there a countermeasure, something to help us find balance against all the digital noise and mental fatigue?
Yes, definitely. The sources really emphasize the value of what they call mind-body separation practices.
Mind-body separation, what does that entail?
It's about intentionally disconnecting your analytical, problem-solving, goal-driven mind from your physical experience for a period. It's crucial for brain health and actually for creativity, too.
So it's not just zoning out.
Not exactly zoning out in a passive way. Think more like cultivating flow states or periods of intentional non-productivity, if that makes sense.
Okay, example.
Could be getting absorbed in intense crafting or playing a musical instrument. Or maybe unstructured movement, like just going for a walk or a swim without a specific destination, distance, or time goal.
Movement without a goal.
Exactly. Or even just sitting quietly and watching the clouds without checking your phone. The key is the deliberate stillness or deliberate movement without a specific measurable output tied to it. You're letting the prefrontal cortex and the AMCC kind of downshift, process things in the background.
Like hitting a reset button.
Yeah, it often leads to enhanced creativity later on and just a profound mental reset. Gives the cognitive machinery a chance to cool down and recalibrate.
Okay, fantastic. Let's try and pull all these threads together for you, the listener. We've covered a lot, but it boils down to a pretty powerful toolkit. If you want stronger willpower, more focus, you need to intentionally work that specific brain region, the AMCC, the part that handles discomfort.
That's step one, know the target.
And you train it systematically. You use voluntary hardship, those memorable micro sucks, and maybe occasional macro sucks.
Controlled, intentional effort.
Right. But that internal brain training, it needs a solid foundation. So that means foundational physical practices are non-negotiable.
Mandatory, really.
Mandatory dual component exercise, remembering that crucial link between resistance training and BDNF release for brain structure.
Yep. cardio and strength.
And leveraging simple but powerful physiological tools, like making consistent nasal breathing your default for better oxygen and less stress.
Simple inputs, big outputs. And then finally, realizing that cognitive performance isn't just about adding good stuff, it's also about active defense, risk mitigation.
Yeah.
You have to actively push back against that constant context switching driven by tech use strategies like time boxing, create focus zones.
Protect your attention.
Exactly. And be really clear-eyed about the specific long-term brain drain caused by substances like regular alcohol use and vaping. This isn't just abstract knowledge, it's a concrete roadmap. You now have steps you can take to genuinely engineer better cognitive function and protect your brain for the long haul.
And that's the whole point, isn't it? Knowledge is great, but it's only really powerful when you understand it and then actually apply it.
That's the core message, application.
Absolutely. So, thinking about application. What does this all mean for you, listening right now, maybe tomorrow morning? Based on this idea of strengthening your AMCC with intentional micro-sucks,
The small wins.
I want you to think about this. What is one single, tiny, maybe 5-minute task that you find unpleasant, that you've been putting off? Could be answering that one email, doing 5 minutes of stretching a skip, organizing just one messy drawer.
Something small you don't want to do.
Exactly. What's one tiny thing you could intentionally decide to tackle tomorrow morning, just to start building that AMCC circuitry? Commit to that little bit of discomfort. Lean into the suck just for a few minutes and just watch. See how that resilience starts to grow.
Great place to start.
Give it a try. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.